jeanne-marie. This is a Saber Claw Jr. one-shot, and it is shit. This comic reintroduced them to the masses for the Weapon Cross series, and they rebuilt the character from the ground floor up, and what they built was worse than what came before. The only notable thing about this terrible comic is that it has art by a young man who I'm sure will go far, called Nathan Van Scribbler. Aurora Borealis from Alpha Strike is institutionalized, like in that song, Institutionalized. And it's sad, but she had been missing in action like this for close to a decade. After Alpha Strike's series ended, a lot of the characters just got forgotten about or written off into corners like this, and you would be lucky if you ever got a follow-up on them. Aurora Borealis, she is a total basket case now. She is a brain-dead, drooling, drugged-up zombie. And Saber Claw Jr. gans to save her. On paper, that is good. That is actually resolving this storyline. Saber Claw Jr. had been looking for Aurora Borealis since the 90s. It even came up in that Saber Claw one-shot I reviewed. But as you can see, Saber Claw Jr., he has been redesigned into this goblin type thing. Off panel, he is meant to have regressed and mutated further, and now he has the mental capacity of like a feral animal. And what's the point? This is a different character. Then he is a creepy weirdo with Aurora Borealis. I liked Saber Claw Jr. In the 90s, in Alpha Strike, he was I won't lie and say that he was a rich character, but he was a serviceable character. He was a guy trying to do good and beat his animalistic urges and not descend into, well, nonsense like this. And that is an effective hook. It worked for Wolfman, and it might be a lot of copy and paste going on, but it worked for Saber Claw Jr. too. It's not even that having him regress or fail to suppress that animal side is a bad thing. It's that this is so destructive and feels so far away from the character that came before. Now he is a mute dwarf Nosferatu who has no element of his tucked away human side. He's just this little monstrous dumb dog. Then we have got a scene in Japan, and I must stress that this is Japan. This is very much Japan. They gone to Japan to attack the Japanese superhero, Sunman, who comes from Japan. Very, very much Japanese, and a Japanese character. And then we have some proper actual racism directed at the Chinese. I'm not reading this out, but there might be one person who was involved in this comic who has no qualms with reading it out.
Me no Reiki the fly lice.
I'm honestly shocked that Nathan Van Scribbler drawn a comic that has this level of ignorant racism in it hasn't ever been brought up by all the people who are trying to kill him. Saber Claw, this is Saber Claw saying it. Saber Claw, he is a character who I believe to be racist and ignorant, but I think the marrying of these two aspects in this statement is more the case that the writer is ignorant, that Japanese and Chinese are different things. It also ruins the only bit in the comic that is any good. When Sunman incinerates Saber Claw, this whole scene in Japan, not to be confused with China, it seems to be there just to add some action for comic book requirements. It has no bearing on the stuff with Aurora Borealis and Saber Claw Jr. Saber Claw, he lashes out and beats the crap out of Saber Claw Jr. And then, look at Aurora Borealis. When I said she was drooling, I wasn't exaggerating her state. So, Saber Claw Jr., he frees her. I didn't actually want to write or make a comic, but this is a comic that I would love to rewrite and just make it actually about Saber Claw Jr. rather than this weird little goblin man that they are calling Saber Claw Jr. Nathan Van Scribbler, he seems to be having fun drawing this evil demon-looking character, but even he wasn't positive about this issue when he went over working on it. Marvel, they kinda conned him into doing it. He didn't know who Saber Claw Jr. was, but they promised him that he would get to draw Aurora Borealis from Alpha Strike, and then he got this weird script that just cannot decide between goofy or creepy, and the sexy woman that he wanted to draw was now a shaved head vegetable. And then we have the rapey bit. And here, he said that this wasn't in the script. He just wanted to draw the character he was told was in the comic, Aurora Borealis. And yeah, if you want someone to draw these funny-looking goblin people, Nathan Van Scribbler clearly loves it, but maybe a silly face isn't what you want to bring to a scene with undertones of rape. So, I didn't like what they did to Saber Claw Jr. I didn't like what they did with Aurora Borealis in a few pages. I didn't even like what they did with Aurora Borealis in all the pages before it. But at the very least, you would hope that it would achieve a tonally inconsistent and all over the place story about love conquering all, maybe, about this animal boy's love for his hard girlfriend, and how their love shines through even in both their mentally diminished states. That's the sort of ending that would make the characters at least likeable, or it would make you feel like you've not just wasted your time. Weapon Cross, they cure Aurora Borealis's mental condition. Off panel, they just wave their hands and she's back to being a normal functioning human being again. And she is horrible to Saber Claw Jr. She finds them idiots. Then the actual art of this story is that this one guy who is meant to be a prick, and in every other comic he is a prick. He offers some sympathy for Saber Claw Jr. This is miserable. Point of this comic, if you want to know why Saber Claw Jr. went from being a member of Alpha Strike or Extra Factors into being a little runt bad guy gimp that nobody takes seriously. Same with Aurora Borealis. She used to gang out with Bigfoot and Saber Claw Jr. and the original Box. Where do they get their wacky names from? She can obviously see past physical appearances. And even in this series, she starts shagging a bloke with a disfigured face. This is crap. And it had a little bit of racism in it. The art is occasionally good, but it's just a bad comic. There was also that rape scene that was seemingly played for laughs, or meant to be funny or whatever. I think I might look at that Alpha Strike issue where Northman comes out of the closet, because Saber Claw Jr., he is in one page of it, and he quotes philosophy or something. This is rubbish. I give it 7 thumbs up. As you just saw, I'm not very good at tearing up comics. I'm not very strong. And I didn't do it often enough to get good at it. But this bit survived intact. And I just want to make sure that it definitely doesn't exist.